Good day, everybody. Welcome to the Preacher's Pen Weekly Bible Study. This week we're going to study John chapter 11. And in John chapter 11, there's a lot of material that's contained in there, and we want you to be a part of what we're able to do here at the Preacher's Pen. Now, what we typically do is this, is we read through the chapter on Mondays, then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, we dive into the text, just a little bit more. So we want to do that for you today. We're going to read through John chapter 11. Now, this is a chapter that's very familiar to us. It talks about Lazarus, and it's where many people understand one particular verse, and that verse is Jesus wept. Well, in our study this week, we're going to talk about why Jesus wept. We're going to talk about who were Mary and Martha and Lazarus. And we're also going to talk about what happened after the death of Lazarus. So Lazarus died, and you know that he was raised from the dead, but what happened in that period of time, and also what happened after the resurrection of Lazarus? Extremely important to the life of Jesus. As you get all the way down to the end of the chapter, there's something very unique that's about to take place. Now, we know this because of the death of Lazarus, but let's get into some of the details this week and to see what we can learn about the resurrection of Lazarus. What can we learn about Jesus' words? Why did Jesus weep? What's the possibilities that Jesus was either weeping because of what the people said, weeping because he lost a friend, or just weeping because he's just human? So we're going to talk about those this week. But we're going to dig through the text today, so if you want to follow along, you can, from John chapter 11. If you have not followed us on the Preacher's Pen, I would encourage you to do that. You can go to places like YouTube. You can go to youtube.com/ then the @ Preacher's Pen, or you can go to rumble.com / Preacher's Pen. You can also find us at preacherspen.org. All the information that's there. And as we've been talking about for a few weeks, there's some updates that are coming to that. They're going to make it more user efficient for you. So you can go over there and you can check out all of that information. But let's get into our text. We're just going to today to read through John chapter 11. So let's begin. John chapter 11 and verse 1. I'm going to be reading from the English Standard Version. And it says, "Now a certain man was ill, Lazarus of Bethany, the village of Mary and her sister Martha. It was Mary who anointed the Lord with ointment and wiped his feet with her hair, whose brother Lazarus was ill. So the sisters sent to him, saying, Lord, he whom you love is ill. But Jesus heard it and said, This illness does not lead to death, for it is for the glory of God, so that the Son of God may be glorified through it. Now Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. So when he heard that Lazarus was ill, he stayed 2 days longer in the place where he was. Then after this he said to his disciples, Let us go to Judea again. And the disciples said to him, Rabbi, the Jews were just now seeking to stone you, and you're going to go there again? And Jesus answered, Are there not 12 hours in a day? If anyone walks in the day, he does not stumble, because he sees the light of the world. But if anyone walks in the middle of the night, he stumbles, because the light is not in him. And after these sayings, he said to them, Our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep, but I will go to awaken him. The disciples said to him, Lord, if he's fallen asleep, he will recover. Now Jesus had spoken of his death, but they thought that he meant taking rest in sleep. Then Jesus told them plainly, Lazarus has died, and for your sake I am glad that I was not there, so that you may believe. But let us go to him. So Thomas, called the twin, said to his fellow disciples, Let us also go, that we may die with him. Now when Jesus came, he found that Lazarus had been in the tomb for 4 days. Bethany was near Jerusalem, about 2 miles off, and many of the Jews had come to Mary and to Martha to console them concerning their brother. So when Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went and met him, but Mary remained seated in the house. Martha said to Jesus, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But even now I know that whatever you ask from God, God will give you. And Jesus said to her, Your brother will rise again. Martha said to him, I know that he will rise again in the resurrection on the last day. And Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. Whoever believes in me, though he die, yet shall live. And everyone who lives and believes in me shall never die. Do you believe this? And she said to him, Yes, Lord. I believe that you are the Christ, the Son of God, who is coming into the world." When she had said this, she went and called her sister Mary, saying in private, "The teacher is here, and he is calling for you." And when she heard it, she rose quickly and went to him. Now Jesus had not yet come into the village, but was still in the place where Martha had met him. When the Jews who were with her in the house consoling her saw Mary rise quickly and go out, they followed her, supposing that she was going to the tomb to weep there. Now when Mary came to where Jesus was and saw him, she fell at his feet, saying to him, "Lord, if you had have been here, my brother would not have died." When Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who had come with her also weeping, he was deeply moved in his spirit and greatly troubled. And he said, "Where have you laid him?" And they said to him, "Lord, come and see." Jesus wept. So the Jews said, "See how he loved him?" But some of them said, "Could not he who opened the eyes of the blind man also have kept this man from dying?" Then Jesus, deeply moved again, came to the tomb, and it was a cave, and a stone lay around it, or against it. And Jesus said, "Take away the stone." And Martha, the sister of the dead man, said to him, "Lord, by this time there will be an odor, for he has been dead for 4 days." Jesus said to her, "Did I not tell you that if you believed, you would see the glory of God?" So they took away the stone. Jesus lifted up his eyes and said, "Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I knew that you would always hear me, but I said this on the account of the people standing around, that they may believe that you sent me." And when he had said these things, he cried with a loud voice, "Lazarus, come out." The man who had died came out, his hands and his feet bound with linen strips, and his face wrapped with a cloth. And Jesus said to him, "Unbind him and let him go." Many of the Jews, therefore, who had come with Mary and had seen what he did, believed in him. But some of them went to the Pharisees and told them of what Jesus had done. So the chief priests and the Pharisees gathered together the council and said, "What are we to do? For this man performs many signs. If we let him go on like this, everyone will believe in him. And if the Romans will come and take away both our place and our nation." But one of them, Caiaphas, who was high priest that year, said to them, "You know nothing at all, nor do you understand that it is better for you that one man should die for the people, not that the whole nation should perish." He did not say this of his own accord, but being the high priest that year, he prophesied that Jesus would die for the nation, and not for the nation only, but also to gather into one the children of God who are scattered abroad. So from that day on, they made plans to put him to death. Jesus, therefore, no longer walked openly among the Jews, but went from there to the region near the wilderness, to a town called Ephraim, and he stayed with his disciples. Now the Passover of the Jews was at hand, and many went up from the country to Jerusalem before the Passover to purify themselves. They were looking for Jesus and saying to one another as they stood in the temple, "What do you think? That he will not come to the feast at all?" Now the chief priests and the Pharisees has given orders that if anyone knew where he was, he should let them know, so that they might arrest him. John chapter 11. The powerful nature of John chapter 11 is it's a chapter of many stories and many truths. The fact that Jesus stayed a couple days later so that the people could see the glory of God. The fact that Lazarus was dead and he's going to arise, but yet Jesus felt the emotions, and I believe as a human he felt all the emotions of the people around him. Then the fact that some believed in Jesus because of what they saw, but yet others, seeing a dead man rise, they went and they became tattletales, if you will, and they told it to the Pharisees, and the Pharisees ultimately decided it was a political game that they were going to try to have. So here we are with a unique experience, with a unique setting, and just really a little bit of time before the death of Jesus. So this week, as we dive into John chapter 11, I hope that you're going to come back, you're going to be with us, and you're going to see this sensational miracle that's going to occur, all because of the glory of God. But as always, I hope that you have a great day. Go back and read John chapter 11. We'll dig into more of this tomorrow. But as always, be blessed, and we will talk to you soon.